And I'm delighted to say that I've been joined here by Mal Evans, Bowls England performance coach. Mal, thank you for joining me.
Thanks very much, Josh.
We're having a great final here so far, aren't we? These players sort of battling the conditions at the moment a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. We've been spoiled really with the weather up until now, but it's a bowler's game, isn't it? You just got to get on with the conditions and see what you can come up with.
That's what we just was touching on. If you sort of struggle to play in these conditions, you're probably playing in the wrong country, aren't you? Because we've got to be used to playing with these.
Absolutely, for sure.
Now, Mal, obviously, we'd talk about you being the Bowls England performance coach, and there's been a slightly different and restructured performance team this year for Bowls England, hasn't there? Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
There has been, yeah. Obviously, we've changed the structure. Obviously, Mo Monkton is the performance director, and then I work directly underneath that. And we've got 3 team managers, and the big change probably has been the amalgamation of the under-18 and under-25 manager becoming one, which obviously has allowed us consistency of selection and moving forward in that way. The other big difference has been we've moved away from having international selectors to having international scouts, and I think one of the big things for the players around the country has been we've had various events around the country, the Balkan, the Walk and everything, which means that there's been a scout at every single one. So any players in contention for selection know they're being watched. Yeah. And on the converse side, there's no hiding place either now for them as well.
Absolutely. And do you think as well, sometimes we're obviously watching this match here at the Championships, you've got the scouts and obviously they're out and about, but is there anything in particular that they're sort of looking for when they watch these matches?
I think it's probably consistency of play throughout, in terms of not wasting any balls. We know at international level is quite intense. We're obviously playing to certain areas on the green, and we're looking for players that can actually hold that consistency throughout. Obviously as well in terms of the way they go about the game, how they cope with adversity and react in that situation. Most of these players have got great temperaments. That's why they're playing international bowls.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously that temperament needed slightly here, isn't it, when you've got these conditions? And I sort of touched on actually sometimes it's on games like this where you can have these slightly looser ends, and the conditions are changing out there. They are difficult. A good final bowl from Lauren there, but it's how you deal with those conditions, isn't it? And probably equally something that you're perhaps looking at as well is you're not always just going to be playing in perfect conditions. How do you deal with this as well?
Absolutely. I think the whole thing about adapting to each situation tells you something about the players. On a dry green, you can usually say that most of these international players will play to within a certain distance. Yeah. But when we've got this sort of little bit of grab in the green now, it's just throwing them a little bit, and that making that adjustment sort of from a 2 foot to a foot or whatever, or from a yard to within that, becomes a little bit more difficult. But I would back most of them to be able to make that adjustment in most cases, I would say.
Yep. We obviously know about the skill and the talent of Amy, and she's coming up here just a fraction of pace needed.
Just a touch shy, obviously, and obviously one of the other things, obviously, because the greens have been so dry, we know that the pace is really nice, but if you play with just a fraction of a yard away, it tends just to hang a little bit.
Not quite getting back, are they?
Doesn't quite get back to the white. And obviously now with that little bit more grab in the greens as well, that's going to be a bigger factor because it's going to hold a little bit longer. So where they anticipate a finish back to the jack, it's not quite getting there at the moment, so they're going to have to adjust their lines accordingly. Which she looks as if she's done really well with this
Amy
ball.
Here might be unlucky out the gap here.
Just played it perfectly.
Yeah, stayed in. Well played, Amy.
Absolutely.
Very, very good. Made the correction on her previous bowl, didn't she?
For sure, for sure.
There is a chance here for Emma. There's a few yellow sticker bowls just past the jack here, so if Emma can just draw herself up into this.
She's just a little bit underplayed.
Yeah.
I think the notion here is that short ball up there is just in her eye a little bit. It's just trying to get it around the outside of that with sufficient weight to be able to drag the jack through.
It's one of those, it's not in the way, but it's in the eye, as you say, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, Amy's just proved you can draw around that, but Emma's got to do it with a touch more because she just wants to move the jack if she can.
Correct.
Amy really good again.
Very close here as well again.
Well, I think she'll be quite happy with where that's finished, won't she?
Absolutely.
And Mal, obviously we talked with your performance coach and your coaching side of the game. What does that sort of entail with your role with these international teams on a more coaching focus?
Yeah, I mean, the big focus for us between Mo and myself initially is to get things embedded in the under 18 and the under 25 teams. I've been with the under 18 team. This will be my fourth year now with them, and it'll be my first year with the under 25s when I go to Ayr in September. And it's all really about working hand in hand with the team manager in terms of providing sort of technical and tactical support, and sort of trying to get the key messages across that we want as a management team between us when we're up there. Things around looking around decision making, focus, execution, communication between the players, communication between the team manager and the players and the coach as well, body language, and obviously establishing a clear game plan before we go out there to be able to play.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we work through. Unfortunately, it's like everything else. We would ideally like to have a little bit more time in terms of having a camp beforehand. The difficulty is with people working, etc., etc. That's something that is we need to have, I think, in the pipeline to see if we're really going to become truly professional in the game. Considering we are totally amateur, we still believe that we need to be professional when we play at this level. And for me, being able to have the players prior to going to an international event is probably a priority. How far we are with that, one depends on a number of things, availability and funding as well.
Absolutely, of course. And the players internationally are spread so far around the whole country, aren't they, that it is quite a logistical feat to just get them in one place at one time.
Geographically challenging, just to say the least, but it's like everything else. If there's a will, there's a way. And then one of the other sides of coaching is people tend to think it's just about that, what I call the nuts and bolts. But we have a duty of care to these players. A lot of the players, they work. We have to factor in what sort of day they've had when they come on here before they come to play. So the whole notion about just the tactical side of the game is embedded around their well-being as well on and off the green. So we're looking at players in terms of developing it within the game, but looking after them in terms of how they manage their workload around their working circumstances as well. And that's a challenge in its own right as well.
Absolutely. I think we forget that these players, let's take Amy for example, we talk about her 25 national titles and 12 world medals. She does all of that whilst working full-time and being part of a family as well, doesn't she? So
the whole kit and caboodle, and everybody forgets that. And I'm just in awe of some of the players I get incredibly lucky to work with. Their work ethic is unbelievable, considering, as you just said, they hold down full-time jobs. A lot of the ladies are obviously looking after kids and everything. That's not to say that the dads don't as well, but we have to put that all together, and their commitment to the sport is unbelievable. Really. Absolutely.
And we see Lincolnshire picking up that single, which puts them just ahead in this match for the first time. 4 shots to 3 at the 5-end mark.
Lawrence just lost that little bit of weight in there, and for the first balls, as we all know, that first ball pressure is really, really critical in any game that you play.
Yeah.
Because it establishes, that you've made that connection, you've got that weight, and already your opponent is under pressure. Unfortunately, Carolyn hasn't quite followed that up. She just left Lauren with an opening, although she's having to change hands a little bit, so that's another challenge as well, because slightly different line, slightly near weight. But hopefully she should be able to make that adjustment.
And she certainly looks closer.
And she has indeed, and there you go.
Well played. Well played. And the importance of trying to sort of make sure. She knew her first 2 bowls, not ideal, short of the jack, so she's made sure with that one, even if she didn't get the jack there, she was finishing in a good spot, wasn't she?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like everything else. One of my favourite sayings, don't compound a problem with another problem. So if you've dropped a couple of bowls short, make sure you reach, even if you don't get the shot, at least it then gives your partner a chance to be able to attack.
Yeah.
If you've got nothing past the head, it becomes very, very difficult to be able to change the head or turn the head around.
Absolutely. Obviously, Mal, it's clear that your passion for the game and the passion for what you do, but why do you think coaching is so important in our sport?
It's a strange thing, really, because I think we're sort of playing catch up with the Southern Hemisphere a little bit, because they've had these systems in place for such a longer time. Ours has been slightly more ad hoc, where people will go and help you out and things like that, and some guys been playing the game for 40 odd years. They know everything. But we're now in a position where we've got well-established curriculums in order to be able to get coaches on board, to be able to deliver things as well. And the notion of now saying to people, I can help you if you work with me. And that makes a difference to my game. So in other words, some people are now saying, well, actually, I can't quite work out what it is. Why can't I make that conversion shot? Or what is it that's holding me back? And it could be that notion to do with the mental resilience that you need sometimes to be able to play this game. So people are now beginning to say, well, if I go to a recognized coach, maybe that will make the difference.
Yeah.
And we're increasingly finding that more and more people are playing here. They've got a recognised coach with them now behind the green, which is great for us, because that means we have more coaches in the system, and that means we've got more people around to be able to help players to fulfil their ambitions.
Absolutely, and you sort of touch on as well earlier on, I think something that I think is really important, and perhaps something that we don't do enough and bowlers don't consider enough, is that everybody talks about our game. We want it to be professional, we want it to be considered as a professional sport, but we've got to treat it like that first. Why would anybody walk in and think this is a professional sport if we don't act like it?
That's exactly it. You know, people say to me, says, "Oh, coaching is just for beginners." Well, okay, yeah, maybe initially it is, because what other sport would you go into where you say, I want to try this, and you just go and grab it and have a go? In 90% of the circumstances, I'm thinking, you know, things like racket sports or golf or cricket or whatever.
Yeah.
You'd go to a coach and you say, can I have some lessons so you can see exactly where you're at? And for me, bowls, I class it as a sport. And some people will say it's a pastime. I want to get beyond that. I want it to be understood that this is a sport, in which case then you have a recognized coach, because they can make that difference. They can hone your game, make it better between the two of you working together as a partnership. It can make all that difference in the world. And I think finally we're beginning to understand that we can make that difference, and this is why we sort of pushed it through on the international front now, to be able to make that difference.
Absolutely, sort of cascade that down from the top.
And the whole thing for me, obviously, yes, I'm sort of one of the, there's only about 3 level 3 coaches in all of the country. One of the remits for me is to be able to increase the number of level 3 coaches, and the plan is to be able to have those dotted around the country, because of the, as I said, talk about the geographical problems that we have getting players together. If we can give them, work them in silos where they can get to these coaches, passing stuff down from the national coach and the performance manager, then they can go and work very closely in their region, rather than having to, you know, to have 2-3 hours or whatever at a time.
Absolutely. And it's all, it feels like it is all obvious stuff, but doesn't it? But it feels like it's a challenge to embed it in the sport sometimes. And
yeah, you're quite right. It does feel obvious because it's such a simple thing to be able to do, but you're quite right. And obviously, like some players, I think the biggest thing for me when I first came into it at this level is just earning people's trust, because obviously when you're a player, I wouldn't, for example, dream of going to say something about our international players, you've got a problem with your delivery, which is what 90% of them, some of the players think you're going to come correct my. Not at all. My job at international level is to say, what can I do to be able to make you the best player you can possibly be? And I'm guided by what they actually want.
Yeah.
And quite often that's not about looking at that technical stuff, but it's actually putting things on the green that challenge them, things that come out of game situations where I can say, well, I need to work a little bit on that. Can you give me something that's going to make me look at it and how I can convert on that? And when you're working on sort of different levels of sort of some close skills where you can score, or open skills which are more game oriented, which is what they're going to face and what they've got to do and adapt and go to that. And I think the other thing is getting the players to understand they've got to look at their strengths, but also look at the opportunities that they need to work on.
Yeah.
I hate saying strengths and weaknesses, because I think that shows that there's something wrong. No, it's just an opportunity to get better. And I think the more people can analyse their own game, they can see, well, okay, maybe perhaps I need a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance. Well, if I work with that guy, he knows what he's talking about, then he can give me that impetus to be able to make that difference when we move into the next level.
Absolutely, and I think it's something that you can't overstate the importance of that, but certainly at this sort of high level as well, that's when that could be the difference, couldn't it, between winning a gold medal and not winning a gold medal. Absolutely
right. For me, a lot of the things, like if you're looking in other sports, like Dave Brailsford in cycling, for example, a big thing was, what's that marginal gain? And we're always, the top players said, what's that marginal gain we can have? And I know there's something stupid that came up from him, and he said, it was as simple as making the cyclists bring their own pillows with them onto the team bus,
Right.
so they could get a decent night's sleep. And I thought it was a marginal again, and that really fascinated me, because really and truly the top players we're talking about is what that top 3% was between your ears,
Yeah.
and that's the difference really.
Absolutely, and that's where we see action like this and a great game now that we've got 5-3 in this final, and you swear you can start to see those little wins that the players might apply in this situation as well, can't you?
And there you go, and that's it. And it's I think at this level as well, it comes down to now and again who plays that big bowl when it needs to.
Yeah.
You know, a conversion shot to say, for 3 down to 5 up, or you get that ball when you're saving your 6 down. It's like it's a massive game changer. Then all of a sudden it goes through your head as well. I knew I could do that because I backed myself to do it, because I've got that mental resilience to be able to do that and not get phased by it.
Absolutely. It's something I've always said. I think when you've got that big bowl, and let's take our men's triples final yesterday, Jamie Walker's final bowl. I mean, Jamie does it time and time and time again, doesn't he? And I think in that situation, it's the mental strength of going, okay, I know I'm game down, but what I'm actually doing here is no different to what I've done 4 or 5 ends ago. The only difference is in your head that you're now game down, isn't it? And if you can control that, the bowl you're bowling is no different. It's exactly the same. There's no more anything you've got to do different with that bowl. It's just what your head is telling you. If I miss this, we don't win the national title.
Correct. Do you know, it's funny, the strangest thing is I was working with the under 18s at Air this year when we won a series. So one of the big things I said is, if you focus on the outcome, then you're going to struggle to get the result. But if you focus on the process you need to get the outcome, then you get it. Now, what these international players can do, and what Jamie does, he knows what the process is, but he trusts himself to be able to achieve that. And the reason why, because he's been in those situations so many times before, he's got the confidence to back himself to be able to do it.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously other players don't get that many opportunities, so then that pressure is in. Can you then deliver as smoothly as you possibly can, which is what you actually want. And Jamie, as soon as you let it go, and I was fortunate because I was sat right behind it, I was right in the slot, and I thought there was never a doubt.
Yeah.
Having said that, Chris Yeoman's played with his last ball almost the perfect answer, and if he didn't have that little touch of the short ball, would have drawn it and won it as well.
That is so unlucky, isn't it? Because Chris Yeomans didn't miss, he just didn't get it. And that's the difference, isn't it?
And that's the fine margins in this game. And the beauty, this is what I love about the game is, anybody can beat anybody on their day. And on another day, Chris would have won. Jamie could play what I would call a total novice. And on his day, if things go his way and Jamie's having an off day, you can win.
Yeah, of course.
But you would back these top players. The consistency is there, and therefore they lose far, far less than the average club player.
Well, we see Amy delivering her first bowl here.
And again, if you look, Amy's pre-shot routine, unbelievable.
It's perfect,
it never changes. It's absolutely identical with that rag in her left hand. Stands up tall, eyes the line, just pulls the trigger. Nothing changes.
Well played, Amy.
So therefore, she backs herself to be able to find that all the time. And to a degree, Emma's exactly the same. It's very understated, but in exactly the same. Stands in the right place on the mat, in the same place all the time. The ball is held at the same height, which means there's no real tension in the shoulder.
Yeah, well played.
And there's your result. There you go.
Took that one in perfectly, didn't you? And yeah, I've said it, and I think we've said it already in this match. If you can get that bit, this end, it's all sports, isn't it? A golf swing,
everything.
Darts are the same, and you can get that bit the same every time. You've got a much greater chance of the result being the same every time at the other end.
For sure. It's like, when I deliver coaching courses, and one of the biggest things we talk about with people coaching, when you're talking about beginners or people who are improving, the biggest thing you want is the same release point.
Yeah.
So things have got to repeat time and time and time again, and if there's any variation, then you're going to miss it on the bottom side or the top side. But this is where these players are so good. If you look at their deliveries, it never changes, unless they're playing a little bit of weight where the action has to change. But basically, all the moving parts move simultaneously in the right order, and you get the right result.
Yeah, and Amy's got a chance here. She's got a few bowls past the jack. If she can just draw herself up into the jack there. This is where you've got to consider the rink, as you were saying. If you're just over the pace there, it doesn't quite move. So this isn't perhaps as easy as it looks.
I think if she just plays to her 2 back balls in there, I'm not sure she's going to get back to it. I think if she plays a draw pace to it, then she's got an opportunity. As she was trying to play just underneath it, and that's what happens. It just swings
gets away, doesn't it?
Just gets underneath the line.
Yeah, just need another one in there.
Yeah, Lauren just saying that bowl needs a friend, because if Amy finds a way of getting rid of that, which she may elect to do now, because she's blocked that sort of confident draw, hasn't she, where she could just draw up into it. That's not as easy now.
For sure. I mean, it's a difficult, because the blue balls are sort of quite a distance down, and that's put a little bit more pressure with that one coming in. And it's not easy with Lauren's 3 balls in there. The shot is very difficult here for her. I think probably Amy's going to try and draw off that forehand and just slide between Emma's ball and hopefully get second, if not shot.
Depends if Emma's got second with that last bowl. It looks like it might have done, but
it's probably a close measure. She might just have fallen out, actually, Josh. I don't know.
Plays any pace at this, I think she has to play quite a bit of pace. She doesn't want to play the weight that's just going to turn the blue bowls up. She needs, if she hit in the blue bowl, it's going right through the head.
I think,
and if she gets the gap.
Yeah, I think people who play these greens at Leamington, they know there's basically 2 shots. You play a draw or you play it full-blooded, because that sort of yard of pace or 4-foot, it just tends to drift by a little bit and you can't quite get it to drop. So yeah, I totally agree with you. If she's going to play weight, this will be very committed and straight through the middle of it.
Try and get the gap and pick out the bowl if she can. The jack is really good as well.
Yeah, and she's played that, and unfortunately she just pushed it on that top side.
Well, chance for Emma to add another here. Again, Emma has the same problems, that everything's kind of in the way, but the benefit for Emma is they are all her bowls coming up if she turns them, aren't they?
I think Emma, if she plays exactly the same ball she did last time, she just gets a little piece of her own. She can just lift Amy through. She has a potential to make a 3 here, but she has to get dead weight to get it absolutely right. But she's got a chance. She's a touch tight. She's got Lauren's balls to be able to push up and everything as well. So, this is called a shot to nothing, really. It's a freebie. So she's probably playing to turn the ball up, or it just didn't quite reach through it enough.
Not quite enough to turn them right into it. I don't know whether that is just the one. They're going to have a look now. But Mal, if people wanted to become a coach, obviously we've talked about why people might want to use a coach and how they can use a coach. But people that would be interested in actually becoming a coach themselves, what can they do to make that happen?
It's very easy. I had a background in coaching for a long time, because I was a sports teacher for a long time. So I've coached all my life and coached lots of different sports. But I got into the bowls coaching simply because my bowls club said, look, well, this is what you've done for a job. Will you become a club coach? So I did. And basically it's very simple. You can either go one or 2 routes. Go and work with somebody within the club that's got a background in coaching. Look what they do. See if you can help in any way. If you feel confident that you can make that difference, then it is a simple procedure. You apply for a coaching course through Coach Bowls, which is the coaching arm of Bowls England, and get on into your level 1, which really and truly is what I consider to be one of the most important parts of coaching, is working with the beginners to get that delivery action honed in so they can understand and how we control weight management and pick up a line. And you enroll on a course, follow it through, get qualified, and then get out and get coaching in your club. And I'm telling you now, clubs are crying out for coaches, and if you show an interest in there, they will jump all over you and say, look, we will help you, we will try and get you to get through, because it's in our benefits as well, because you'll bring more members in. Because if people know there's a coach there, they'll go and have a word with you.
Absolutely. So Coach Bowls is where you need to go, isn't it, to have a look? It
is, yeah. And you just click on the website and everything is in there that can show you where the coaches are. We do courses around the country. In fact, I've crisscrossed the country with a number of courses I've done now. But yes, that is probably the easiest route in, and I would attest it's a very, very, very good series of courses. You have to earn the right to be able to get there, because you have to become qualified, you have to reach minimum standards, and you have to take an assessment. So if you actually achieve that, you're ranked on a par with other sports as well, who use the same awarding body, which is First for Sport. So it's not easy, but at the same time, if you achieve it, you've done a good job.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mal. It's clear your passion and your dedication to the game and that professional arm of the sport as well. But as you say, if you are interested and you would like to get involved in the coaching, visit Coach Bowls, and
Yes.
I'm sure they will welcome you with open arms, won't they?
Absolutely, 100%.